the stars, and the world is watching you. By your presence, you send a message to every village, every city, every nation. A message of hope, a message of victory.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver, a world changer for the disabled. Eunice Kennedy Shriver worked for many years to allow and help people with disabilities to be able to participate in sports. She started the Special Olympics and left her legacy on the world. Now, in the present day, the Games still support people with disabilities. Eunice Kennedy Shriver was really a world changer for the disabled.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver is a pioneer who literally changed the way persons with intellectual disabilities are treated and viewed.
Eunice Kennedy Shriver advocated for the disabled in the 1960s by allowing them to participate in sports. Shriver achieved this by creating the Special Olympics and impacting people with disabilities. Her motivation for helping the disabled came from the desire to help her sister Rosemary Kennedy, who was born with intellectual disabilities. Eunice Kennedy Shriver's lasting legacy in America has enabled millions of disabled to engage in athletics and be included in society. Growing up with 8 siblings, Eunice had to get used to fitting in around all of her brothers and sisters. Sports and athletics were a great part of the Kennedy children's childhood. Eunice especially enjoyed swimming, sailing, and touch football. Eunice had an older sister named Rosemary Kennedy, who was born with intellectual disabilities. Rosemary experienced many different challenges with playing sports and being included in the Kennedy household. Even being a younger sister, Eunice realized all of the difficulties that her sister had to go through, having an intellectual disability. Rosemary couldn't hold a job, get a proper education, or participate in sports. This inspired Eunice to help her sister be able to participate in sports and many other activities. Eunice found it to be very difficult to find different activities in sports that would allow her sister to participate in. She saw how much the disabled were not included in society, and Eunice wanted to change that. To help her sister and many other people with disabilities, Eunice created her own athletic camp called Camp Shriver in 1962. After Eunice started Camp Shriver, she saw how happy the disabled were to be included in athletics, and she decided she wanted to do something bigger, something that had more of an impact. On July 20th, 1968, the 85,000-seat stadium at Soldier Field, Chicago, was filled with 1,000 people. This day was the very first International Special Olympics. Athletes from 26 American states and Canada filled the stadium. Eunice Kennedy Shriver stood at the stadium podium surrounded by friends, families, volunteers, and athletes. She stood there and said a few sentences that would be remembered forever. Let me win. But if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt.
In ancient Rome, the gladiators went into the arena with these words on their lips. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. Today, all of you young athletes are in the arena. Many of you will win, but even more important, I know you will be brave and bring credit to your parents and to your country. Let us begin the Olympics. Thank you.
After this world-changing speech, the very first Special Olympics began. The Games started off with track and field. Athletics from all different states and Canada came to participate. Swimming, diving, throwing, and running were some of the events that were held at the Games. All of the athletes that were allowed to participate in these games were people who were lacking in education or 2 years behind their peers, most of them being referred to as mentally retarded during the 1960s. At the end of a day full of athletics, for the first time ever in history, people who had intellectual disabilities were standing tall and proud on a podium and were rewarded for their athletic talents. July 20th, 1968, marks the day in history that the disabled were recognized for their athletic abilities. This day reformed history forever. Now, nearly 4 decades after the very first Special Olympics, the Games have grown, and 170 different countries around the world participate in them. The Special Olympics now bring together more than 4.4 million athletes to participate in sports. More athletic events have been added to the Games, creating a total of 32 individual and team sports. These games provide different trainings and competition for people with intellectual disabilities. Not only have the Games given opportunities for the disabled, but it also raises awareness about disabilities and people with intellectual disabilities.
My name is Allison Hess. I'm 35 years old, and I have participated in bowling, skiing, swimming, softball, and basketball. My best part of the Special Olympics is the opportunity to do sports that I never thought I would have the chance to even do. My life has changed for the better.
After the successful first Special Olympic Games, the Games grew and became more popular. The disabled were recognized now in society and were included more often. 9 years after the beginning of the Special Olympics, the very first International Winter Special Olympics were held. They took place in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, February 5th through 11th. This was another big change in America's history because it was the first time that the disabled were not allowed to only participate in track and swim, but they could also ski and do many different winter sports. In the early 1900s, before the Special Olympics were created, there were no schools, clubs, or activities that disabled could participate in. The disabled would struggle and it would be hard for them to be accepted. If a person was intellectually disabled, they were not allowed to get an education. They would not be included in almost anything. Eunice was fed up with this. She believed that anyone had the right to hold a job, an education, and be able to participate in sports. The disabled have many rights and opportunities now, but many people in America and around the world still believe that they should not be included in as much as they are now. Having the disabled holding jobs can be frustrating for other people in the society. Other people without disabilities still think low of the disabled and will make fun or tease the Special Olympics. Awareness of the Special Olympics has been spreading, and even though few people still think lowly of the disabled, there are many others who support them in sports, education, and jobs. On March 24, 1984, the United States President Reagan awarded Eunice Kennedy Shriver with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Shriver was awarded this because of her efforts and abilities to make the world a better place for everyone, no matter if you were disabled or not. August 11, 2009, Eunice Kennedy Shriver passed away. Shriver's dedication and hard work ended up changing the lives of many groups of people and individuals. Even though the leader of this legacy has passed away, her footprints are still left on schools, jobs, athletics, and millions of people.